All right, so Six Sigma. You want to get a real handle on it, right? Not just the basics,
Right.
but the real in-depth stuff. Well, we're diving deep today.
Okay.
We've got excerpts from a Six Sigma exam study guide.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to use that to take you on a deep dive into what Six Sigma really is, beyond just all the jargon.
Okay.
We'll cover its history. It's actually got a pretty surprising history.
Interesting.
And how it could be used to solve all kinds of problems. Like, we're talking real-world problems.
Yeah.
Minimizing air traffic control errors.
Wow.
Slashing Amazon shipping costs. All thanks to the power of Six Sigma.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how Six Sigma goes way beyond just the numbers, the charts and graphs. Like, at its core, it's more of a philosophy, a way of thinking about constantly making things better, improving processes. And the cool thing is, it's not just for factories anymore, right?
Yeah, that's what I was surprised about. You see Six Sigma principles popping up all over the place. So, before we get in all that, I think it's worth breaking down what Six Sigma quality actually means. We hear the term a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
But what does that actually mean in the real world? Like, how does it translate?
Well, imagine a process where you're aiming for, near perfection.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
We're talking 3.4 defects for every million opportunities.
Wow.
That's the gold standard. That's Six Sigma.
Okay.
And to get to that level, you really have to move away from just, gut feelings and intuition.
Right.
You got to use data to guide your decisions.
Okay, so that's a big jump.
Yeah.
Going from this feels right to 3.4 defects per million.
Yeah.
What's an example of how much of a difference that actually makes?
Okay, let's take air traffic control in the United States.
Okay.
They handle a crazy number of flights, right?
Okay.
Over 10 million a year. According to the study guide, that's what they handle. Now, if air traffic control was operating at, let's say, a 5 Sigma level, which sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah, 5 out of 6, that sounds pretty good.
You would still be looking at over 2,400 potential errors.
Oh, wow.
Every single year.
Okay, so, 2,400 errors.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of potential for things to go very wrong.
Exactly. But if you bump that up to a 6 Sigma level, that number plummets down to just 35 potential errors.
Wow.
So we're talking about a difference of almost 2,400 potential disasters avoided.
That's a pretty compelling argument for striving for that extra level of Sigma. It's not just some abstract number.
Exactly.
It translates into real world safety and presumably cost savings and all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. Speaking of cost savings, there's a common misconception that Six Sigma just ignores common sense and just looks at data.
Okay.
Right? But it's actually the opposite. Six Sigma lets you test those common sense ideas, but it's with data. And that leads to much more informed decisions.
Okay, so it's not about throwing out common sense. It's about backing it up.
Exactly, yeah. Now, the history of Six Sigma is actually really fascinating. The seeds were planted way back in the 19th century.
Really? That far back? For something that seems so data-driven, 19th century seems like a long time ago.
I know, right? But that's when mathematicians were developing the idea of the normal curve.
Okay.
You might remember that from statistics class.
Yeah, vaguely.
And that idea really laid the foundation for understanding variation and probability, which are both core concepts in Six Sigma.
Okay, so 19th century set the stage. Then what happened?
So fast forward to the early 20th century. We meet a guy named Walter Shewhart. He was a real pioneer. And he's the one who linked the idea of Sigma levels to quality control.
Oh.
That was a big deal.
So that was the direct line to Six Sigma.
Well, not directly, but it was a huge step. He also came up with something called control charts.
Okay.
Which are still used in Six Sigma all the time today. Okay.
They help you visualize data, track how a process is doing over time, and spot any trends.
Okay, so things are starting to, come together little by little.
Yeah.
But we still haven't gotten to, the Six Sigma that we know and love.
Right. Well, around the same time, another important figure pops up, W. Edwards Deming. He was an American statistician and a management consultant. And after World War II, he took his ideas about statistical process control over to Japan.
And that's where Six Sigma started.
Not quite directly, but his work in Japan had a big influence on something called the Toyota production system.
Oh.
You might know it as lean manufacturing.
Okay.
Both Lean and Six Sigma are kind of the cornerstones of process improvement. They just come at it from, different angles.
Oh, okay. So it's amazing how all these different ideas and these thinkers in different countries and different time periods, they all came together to form the the foundation for what we now call Six Sigma.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we've got the groundwork laid, the normal curve, control charts, a focus on quality. But when did Six Sigma really take off? When did it become this big, phenomenon?
That's where Motorola comes in. Back in the 1980s, the engineers at Motorola, they were facing a real challenge.
Okay.
Their quality programs just weren't keeping up, especially compared to their Japanese competitors.
Oh, interesting.
The Japanese were really embracing these new ideas about quality.
So they decided to take inspiration from the Japanese.
Yeah, kind of. But they took it even further. They realized that aiming for, defects per thousand, which was kind of the standard at the time, just wasn't ambitious enough.
Right.
So they made this radical shift. They decided to aim for defects per million opportunities. And that's when Six Sigma, as we know it today, was born.
And it worked.
Oh, it worked big time. Motorola saved over $16 billion in 12 years.
Wow.
All thanks to this new approach to quality.
So it paid off big time.
Yeah.
But Motorola wasn't the only one to jump on this, was it? It went mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where Jack Welch comes in. The legendary CEO of General Electric.
Yeah.
He was actually pretty skeptical of quality programs at first.
Really? Why?
He thought it was all just talk, no action. But then something happened that totally changed his mind.
What was that?
He saw a presentation by the CEO of Allied Signal, a company that had already adopted Six Sigma and was seeing incredible results.
Yeah.
And the numbers were pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Especially when you realize that if GE, this massive company, managed to achieve Six Sigma, the potential savings were huge.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking $7 to $10 billion.
Well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, suddenly Six Sigma wasn't just a good idea, it was like a potential game changer.
Yeah, you don't want to leave that kind of money on the table. So Jack Welch went all in on Six Sigma.
Oh, yeah, he did. And he didn't just, talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
He integrated Six Sigma goals into employee rewards, made it part of GE's culture.
Oh, wow.
And that really shows how important leadership buy-in is for Six Sigma to really work.
So thanks to Motorola's early adoption and Jack Welch's enthusiasm, Six Sigma went from this kind of niche idea to a mainstream business practice.
Exactly. And its impact has been huge. But like any popular idea,
Yeah.
it started to face some misconceptions.
Oh, I bet. Once something gets popular, it's bound to get misunderstood.
Definitely. Some people started to think that Six Sigma meant ignoring common sense and just blindly following the data.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so oversimplified.
Yeah.
Six Sigma is about using data to make your common sense even better.
So it's not one or the other. It's both together.
Exactly.
Right.
And another misconception is that it's only for big corporations.
Okay.
The truth is anyone can use it, any size organization.
Even for personal stuff.
Mhm.
Like that inbox you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, totally. That's what's so great about it.
Okay.
It's versatile, it's powerful, it gives you a framework to think about any process and how to improve it.
Awesome. So we've covered a lot of the basics here. We know what it is, where it came from, some of the misconceptions.
Yeah.
But we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, totally.
There's so much more to explore,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the practical applications of all this. You
Yeah.
know, how we can actually use Six Sigma to solve real problems.
Right. We haven't even talked about the different Six Sigma tools and methodologies yet.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, maybe we should talk about when Six Sigma really shines.
Oh.
When is it, the best tool for the job?
Yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Six Sigma, it really shines when you're dealing with these really complex problems,
Okay.
the messy ones that traditional approaches just don't cut it for, like problems where you don't even know where to start and the cost of failure is really high.
Yeah, it's like a secret weapon for tough challenges.
Exactly. Think of it like, imagine a food processing plant. They had this issue. This decorative element wasn't being applied correctly to their product, and it was leading to a really low sigma level.
Oh, interesting. So a cosmetic issue, was that their biggest problem?
Well, it was causing a low sigma level, but they also had other processes with lower sigma levels
Okay.
that were actually costing them way more money.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about blindly chasing the highest sigma level.
Right.
You have to be more strategic about it. Look at the big picture.
Exactly. So this food processing plant, they decided to focus on the problems that were hitting their bottom line the hardest,
Okay.
even though they weren't necessarily the lowest sigma level processes.
Gotcha. So it's about being smart with your resources.
Exactly.
Focusing on the areas where Six Sigma can make the biggest difference. So complex problems, high costs, that's where Six Sigma really comes in handy.
Yeah, because it uses all the statistical rigor to help you make sure you're attacking the right problems, you're implementing the right solutions. So it's like it minimizes the financial risk.
I like that. It's like a safety net for your business.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm sold. I'm ready to hop on the Six Sigma train. Where do I even begin? The study guide mentions like different levels of Six Sigma. Is that where I start?
Yeah, those different levels are a great way to think about how you can like engage with Six Sigma. It's structured a lot like a martial arts system.
Okay.
You know, you progress through different belts as you gain mastery.
I like that. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these belts. What do they mean?
So you start with the basics as a white belt. That gives you like a basic understanding of the core concepts. Then you move up to yellow belt. That's where you start learning about this thing called the DMAIC method.
Okay.
Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control.
DMAIC. It's like a secret code?
Yeah, kind of. It's a 5-step process that guides you through any process improvement project, breaks it down into manageable steps.
So DMAIC is like your guidebook. Your trusty guidebook on the Six Sigma journey. Okay, what comes after yellow belt?
Then there's green belt. That's where you really start getting hands-on with the data analysis,
Okay.
the problem solving. You learn how to use all these statistical tools to figure out the root causes of problems, and then how to, come up with effective solutions.
So green belts are like the detectives of Six Sigma.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And they often work under the guidance of black belts.
Okay.
Black belts are like the project leaders, the real experts in Six Sigma.
Right.
They've got a deep understanding of the whole methodology, and they can lead teams through these really complex improvement projects.
So who's above the black belts? Master black belts, like the wise sages of Six Sigma.
Exactly. The master black belts, they're the ones who have achieved like the highest level of mastery. They often serve as like mentors, coaches, they work on the toughest problems and they help build a culture of continuous improvement.
Wow, so it's like a whole ecosystem
Yeah.
of Six Sigma practitioners with all these different levels of expertise.
Yeah. And it's designed so that people at all levels of an organization can get involved.
Okay.
It doesn't matter like what your background is or how much experience you have.
I like that. So it's not just for statisticians and data analysts.
Nope. Anyone can learn it. Anyone can use it. And that's what makes it so powerful.
It's like it democratizes the whole idea of improvement.
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about when Six Sigma really works well
Yeah.
and the different levels of expertise.
Yeah.
But I'm still curious, like, what are some examples of this in the real world?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about factories, food processing plants. But what about other industries?
Oh, there are tons of examples. Remember how we said earlier that Six Sigma can be used in any field?
Yeah.
We weren't kidding. It's being used to streamline healthcare processes, financial transactions, even marketing campaigns.
So it's not just about, like, improving widgets on an assembly line. It's about improving anything, no matter how complex or creative it is.
Right. Let's say you're in marketing, you're running email campaigns.
Okay.
You could use Six Sigma to analyze your open rates, click-through rates, your conversion rates, and use that data to figure out like what's working and what isn't.
So instead of just guessing, you're using data to make those decisions.
Exactly. You can test different subject lines, different designs, different calls to action, and figure out what resonates with your audience.
Okay.
And you can do the same thing with customer service.
Okay.
You could analyze things like customer complete times, resolution rates, satisfaction scores, and then you can pinpoint the bottlenecks and make the whole customer experience better.
Okay, this is starting to really make sense to me now. It's like a data-driven approach to everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
But what about when things are already going pretty well? Is there still a role for Six Sigma then?
Oh, absolutely. Remember, Six Sigma is all about continuous improvement. It's not just about fixing what's broken. It's about always trying to make things better, even when they seem fine.
So it's not just reactive, it's proactive.
Exactly. Even if you've achieved a high Sigma level in one process, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
Always room to reduce waste, be more efficient, make your customers happier. It's a never-ending journey.
I like that. A never-ending journey of excellence. It's not about reaching the finish line. It's about constantly getting better.
Yeah, that's the real spirit of Six Sigma. A mindset, a way of life.
Okay, so this has been incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
We've covered so much, the history, the principles, the applications, all the different levels of expertise.
I know, right?
It's amazing how much there is to Six Sigma.
And we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah. They're all the Six Sigma tools and techniques that we haven't even had a chance to get into.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you open one door, and there's a whole hallway of other doors waiting to be
And
opened.
that's the beauty of learning, right?
It is. But for now, let's bring it back to our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
They've heard all about Six Sigma, the good, the bad, the history, the hype.
Mm-hmm.
But how can they actually start using these principles in their own lives? Like, we've been given this amazing toolkit, but now we need to figure out what to build with it.
Yeah, totally. And you don't even need to be like a certified black belt to start using these principles. Think about something in your own life that could use a little improvement. Could be at work, at home, wherever, something that's causing you frustration or leading to mistakes, or it's just eating up way too much of your time.
Oh, I've got a few of those, like my inbox. That thing is overflowing, and planning my grocery shopping. Ugh, it's such a headache.
Those are perfect examples. Now, try thinking about those things with a Six Sigma mindset. Like, what are some metrics you could track? What would success actually look like? What kind of data could you use to make smarter choices?
Okay, so for the inbox, I could track how many emails I'm getting every day, how many I actually need to respond to, and how much time I'm spending on email in general. Then I could use that data to streamline things.
Exactly. And for grocery shopping, you could track how much you're spending each week, how much food you're wasting, and how often you're making trips to the store. Then you could try to make a more efficient plan. Maybe try meal prepping to cut down on waste and save some time.
I'm starting to see how this works. Instead of just feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, I can use data to understand the problem and then actually fix it.
That's the beauty of Six Sigma. It gives you this framework for moving beyond your gut feelings and making decisions based on evidence. It helps you break those big, overwhelming problems down into smaller, more manageable steps. And then you can actually take control, whether it's at work or in your personal life.
It's funny. Six Sigma sounded pretty intimidating at first, but now it just feels really approachable, even empowering.
I know, right? It's not this exclusive club for statisticians. It's a set of principles that anyone can learn, anyone can use to improve their lives.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
We have.
We've covered everything from the history of the normal curve to streamlining grocery shopping with Six Sigma.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah.
But I hope this has given everyone a taste of what Six Sigma is all about.
Yeah, and hopefully it's made you curious to learn more.
If you want to dive in deeper, check out the study guide excerpts that we used today.
Yeah, they're a great place to start.
And who knows, maybe this is the beginning of your own Six Sigma journey. Maybe you'll be the one transforming your workplace or your community or even just your daily routines.
It could happen.
That's a great thought to end on. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive. It's been fascinating.
You're welcome.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep striving for excellence.